It might be useful for you to gather some props for this session. We're using a mini ball predominantly, slightly deflated so that if you put it on the floor it wouldn't roll away from you. The other thing we're going to use is a block to sit on. If you don't have a block, you could use a couple of cookery books on top of each other, a small stool to sit on. And then the other thing is your TheraBands, your exercise bands. I'm just going to put those to the sides to begin with. And you're going to head down to lay on your mat. I've got a little cushion that I'm going to put underneath the back of my head to begin with. And I'm going to place the mini ball just between the legs. Now, I'm not being very specific about where, because it really depends on how large your mini ball is, how inflated it is. Well, I can give you some idea in terms of how it feels with the ball between the knees. So mine is more knees, maybe lower part of the thighs. It's not pushing me onto the little toe side of the foot too much. I can still feel the big toe side. The other thing you can use as a gauge to help you figure out position-wise is that I'm not squeezing it to keep it in place. So if the ball were a little small, I might feel like I have to do that. Maybe that would come up the legs a little, depending on leg shape. If it feels like it's really big, there's no reason why it couldn't be lower down the leg, maybe shin height. But does the ball give you a sense of integration, connectivity in terms of both halves of the pelvis? You can just consider the lower torso. Does it help you generate a sense of legs coming into torso, torso coming into legs, and really that the legs are going to move as one, so that they're also feeling integrated too? We're opening with a breath setup, and you have a choice of where you'd like to position the hands on the torso for this. So they could be just resting on your ribs. You could have one hand high on the chest, one hand much lower on the abdomen. Spread fingers, elbows relaxed, or you might just choose to rest the arms completely on the front of the body. The more of you have connected to your torso, the more information you're going to obtain as you start to inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And it's a noticing task in terms of where are you at? How is the breath today? And what are you able to access in change as you progress through the repetitions? It's a whole breath, which means that you will have inflation everywhere. If you took your arms away from your body, you'd perhaps notice some changes that happen in the back of yourself. Can you get a sense that due to the breath there is movement as low down as the lower back, for example? Know that internally the diaphragm is descending as you breathe in. So you might even notice changes in the pelvis that low down in the torso. And if the diaphragm descends as you inhale, moving in the direction of the pelvis, as you exhale, you know that it's going to draw back up into its resting place. You're breathing in through your nose and out through the mouth. And just as you're finding today's rhythm, slip your head cushions away and bring your arms down to rest beside you. Your legs are still bent. Your feet are ready to feel more grounded, rooted as you start to move into bridging. It will happen on your next exhale, where you'll get a sense of the upper body softening. You'll stand into the feet, tilt the pelvis and peel the spine away from the mat. Inhale, noticing the feet and their connection to the ground, and then exhaling to soften once more and bring the body back down to your mat. Take a breath in. The movement here is during the breath out. You'll inhale up at the top of your bridge. Ground the feet, notice the toes. And then as you're exhaling, you're bringing yourself back down to your starting position. We're going to add in some heel raises to this movement. So as you get to the top of your next bridge, you're going to keep the pelvis high, and as you inhale, stand into the balls of the feet to lift the heels, and as you exhale, lower the heels back down again. The idea being that as you move to the forefoot, the pelvis has a little bit more to play with in terms of length through the front of the body. You might feel like it goes higher. Can you then keep the pelvis at that height as you lower your heels? Do a set of 3 or 4, depending on how long you've been there, before that fourth exhale brings you all the way back down again. Breathing out, noticing how the upper body naturally falls back into the mat at that point. You're standing into the feet and tilting. Now here you might notice that you have less connection on the ball. Firstly, pay attention to the toes. Notice, are the balls of the feet still down on the ground? It might just be that you've moved on to the outer part of the foot and therefore the knees have lost a little bit of a connection. Where you position your feet and how you use them is going to feed directly to your pelvis in terms of information. I'm going to add in 3 heel raises again here. Inhaling and exhaling. Open hips, reaching the pelvis forwards, like the pelvis itself is trying to drive itself closer to the ball and the ball is trying to reach closer to the wall in front of you. As you take this next exhale, heels fall and bring yourself down. And then we're going to take one last bridge to finish and just notice the height of the hips, the openness through the hips. Again, you're moving on your breath out. Standing into the feet. Tilting, peeling, noticing. When you're all the way back down, and you might be already, in which case you can start to move already into arm arcs. Really simply, the arms will move upwards and backwards. and then they'll return back down to your mat. The purpose of the arm arc is to move and mobilize the shoulders. You have some direct information coming into your body with regards to the shoulders because the shoulder blades are on the mat behind you. So if you can consider them, they want to be moving. As you take your arms up overhead, have the shoulder blades moved. As you bring them back down, have the shoulder blades moved. In terms of breath pattern here, you have a choice. You could take an inhale as the arms return, or you could take an inhale as the arms move upwards and backwards. So marry the breath and the movement, and then keep checking in as your arms go overhead. Have you moved your shoulder blades? They part, they fan out, sliding on the ribs. Bring your awareness to them and notice what they do for you. As the fingers get to the ceiling next, they're going to pause, and you're going to move into open and close with the arms. So the arms are falling out to the sides of your room. Again, you have a choice of breath pattern. Would an inhale work for you as you open the arms? Or do you feel like you'd like to do the exhale there? Be aware of your breath. Be aware of the breath holding. See whether it can be continuous, regardless of whether you're repetitively doing the same thing. After this last one, fingers will go to the ceiling. And we're going to start to come into shoulder drops here. But we're going to add in some rotation through the upper arms. So as the shoulder blades move away from the mat, the arm bones are going to turn in towards each other so that the palms end up facing your legs. And then as the shoulder blades return, can you have that feeling of spiraling the upper arm bones outwards so that the palms end up facing in towards each other? Shoulders off, arm bones roll in towards each other, shoulder blades coming back down, arm bones rotate outwards towards each other. And we're going to use this pattern of movement for flexion and extension as part of the session. Let's notice how this movement synchronizes for you. We're going to come back to it. You can relax the arms down. And you're going to take the ball away from being between the legs, and you're going to lift the pelvis and pop the ball underneath there. So what we're looking to do here are dead bugs and femur arcs. Initially, you want to be looking to feel comfortable with the ball underneath the pelvis. Where would it feel like it was in the center, perhaps, enabling you to tilt in both directions with ease? And even if it feels like you've positioned it well right now, do check in as you're moving. If at any time it feels like somehow it's compressing through the spine, it's bringing the segments of the spine closer towards each other and that doesn't feel so nice for you, whether it's in that extended pattern or in a flex pattern, then just take the ball away. You can do these next two moves on the mat as well as on the ball. So you might notice with your 2 feet down on the floor that there is some movement. The ball is giving the pelvis and the lower back space to feel light and buoyant, but it's also giving it a different surface to contend with in terms of stillness. Arms are going to be relaxed beside you. You could have your hands back on your body with your elbows down if you wanted to, but I think perhaps the more of you on the mat initially might be a good place to start. If, as you breathe out, you stand gently into your left foot and your right arm, could you then float the right leg? It's going to stay bent. Breathe in with the leg raised. And breathe out to bring the leg back down towards the floor. Consider the floor is much further away than it is as it lands. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, the right foot starts to take over the left, as does the left arm. That could happen simultaneously. Notice how it enables a lighter feeling in the leg that's going to move. It's there for that reason, so that not only do you start to play with the idea that as something moves downwards, something lifts away from that, it will also give you this quality of very little effort in terms of what's moving. Use the floor behind you. See whether you can grasp in your own body whether there are changes in the back of you with the surface of the floor as you're lifting and lowering the leg. The idea really is that the pelvis is quiet, it's relatively still. Of course, there's some motion due to the ball, but it's not moving forwards or backwards at all, which means that the lower back curve as well should also be relatively still. So you might notice that you can do less and less of foot and arm as you move through this process. That perhaps you were really thinking about the down and the down of the opposite arm to lift, but actually it's there still, but you're not having to manufacture it quite so much. You're going to take one leg up to the ceiling next and hold it there. As you breathe out, you're going to take the second leg up to join. For security, let's draw your knees and feet together. There's definitely going to be movement. If you feel like you need to spread more, sort of cover more surface area, there's no reason why you couldn't go wider with the arms. So work with somewhere that feels challenging but doesn't feel impossible in terms of your stillness. So of course, if you're falling off side to side, then definitely go wider with the arms. A little bit of space between the legs now, just because you're going to free the legs up to work individually. These are femur arcs. As you breathe out, one of your legs is going to move downwards towards the floor, but it's not going to quite touch the mat, and then you'll inhale to return. The same arm as leg that's moving is just going to give itself down into the ground a little bit more. Inhale to return. I definitely work on an exhale and trying to connect that in to the movement. As you breathe out, there's that feeling of, could your rib cage become your pelvis? It's heading in that direction. You'll certainly feel a little bit more tone in the body. But as always, that's not because you're bracing or tightening or squeezing anything. Just so happens that the weight of the leg moving away from the torso on an exhale requires a little bit more activity. Breath out. And again, you could play around with the arms. Take a little of the arms away from the mat, so you've just got your elbows down or hovering. Inhale to return. Last one. Hold on to the floor. Bring your feet separately down onto the mat, and you're going to lift the pelvis and take the ball away from there. Quite nice to simultaneously feel the shoulder blades in their new resting position, and of course the more obvious pelvis. What we're going to do here now is move into chest lift. We're going to do it with the hands behind the head, and then we're going to do it with the arms raised with some internal and external rotation of the arms, which we've already prepped. So here you are on your back, interlaced fingers. You're going to have your thumbs connected into the back of the neck, and your elbows are just in your sight, sort of diagonally away from you. As you breathe out, lengthen through the back of yourself. Send the back ribs down into the floor to curl yourself up. And as you breathe in, you're going to lay yourself back down again. Breath out, lengthening to curl up. And breath in to lay back down. Breath out. We're going to take this into the full version, lengthening to curl up. You're going to inhale and reach the arms to the side of the legs. Hold on to the back of the legs, and as you breathe out, widen. Lift yourself up a little higher. Hands come back behind the head, and you lay yourself down. Breath out to lengthen. Inhale as you reach and hold. You'll then breathe out as you deepen through the front body, widening through the elbows. Hands come back behind your head, and you lay yourself down from there. Exhaling. The last one. From here, you're going to bring your knees into your chest. Hold on to the backs of the legs. If you prefer to start your assisted roll up from seated, then do bring yourself up to sit instead. You might also want to have towels and cushions at the ready. So the legs go forwards, the back ribs drop back, the feet continue to head towards the floor, and that's you rolling up to bring yourself up into a seated position. Now, with towels or little cushions, I'm going to show you in case you want to try. That's going to go behind you, elevating the floor slightly where it meets the lower back. It's going to give you more opportunity to gradually build up into the widening of the back of the spine. See how you get on. Play around with where it meets you. Sit yourself tall. As you breathe out, check in with your feet. A little how you did when you were bridging. You do want to feel that you're on the insides of the feet. You'll draw them towards you when you need them, and then bring yourself onto your back. Take a breath in when you're here, and as you breathe out, the legs go forward into the hands first. You lengthen and send the back ribs back. The feet head down, and that brings you up into your seated position. Exhaling, feet go down and forwards. Inhaling, legs go away. I'm going to come into single leg stretch here, so tilting the pelvis and taking yourself down. You could still have your cushions and your towels there. You wouldn't need to remove them if you've got something lifting the floor. Find the lower ribs, maybe just the bottom of the shoulder blade. See how that feels for you. And then allow one leg to fall away from you. Back of the leg falls, openness through the front. And bring your hands into one hand on the shin, one hand reaching towards the ankle. You're going to breathe in and switch the legs twice, and breathe out and switch the legs twice. And you're going to find your rhythm. You could be moving quicker, you could be moving slower. And you're going to look to keep your upper body in the same position. From there, you're going to bring your knees into your chest. Lay yourself down. And then bring your feet separately down onto the floor. Grab your band. You're going to come into a little bit of hamstring work. Band is going to go around one of your feet. You want the band to feel supportive, something to work against. But of course, something that you're able to hold with the hands as well. So you'll notice that one leg is straight down on the mat. That does make it a little bit more complicated for the pelvis, and in turn more complicated for the back of the raised leg and the front of the leg that's down on the floor. Bend and extend the leg. Pausing there, stand into the band with the other foot. Nice, quick and easy change. The leg that has just been lengthened at the back is going to reach long, open through the front. So as well as the obvious length you're coming in and out of with the back of this leg, you can also look at things like continuous bending through the ankle, so flexing through the ankle, toes heading back to shin. And you could also look at the lower leg alignment, so where does your kneecap head to? And all the while, you're being drawn into a deeper flexed position, and you're working against a lengthening, whether it's lower leg, upper leg. We'll take a few more. And last one. So depending on which leg you just worked, you're going to go back to the first leg in terms of it being the working long straight leg. And you're going to bring yourself onto your side. We're going to head into side kick, and we're going to use the ball for this. Bring yourself onto your forearm then with your two straight legs. Depending again on the size of the ball, could it be underneath the waist? Does that feel like it lifts you? Again, it's going to create a little bit of instability, but does it feel like it lifts you? And then you're on the forearm, and the other hand is either going to come to your forehead or it's going to go behind the back of the head with the elbow wide, depending on how that feels. If you notice, and you might not notice until afterwards, that your chin has started to move forward, it would be that next time you do this, do place the hand on the forehead instead. Sometimes we don't realize until we've finished. Push down into the floor, feet part, top leg lifts, and then you're going to inhale to swing your top leg forward and exhale to reach it back. Now, you don't have the hand in front of you. You could put it there if you wanted to. So you want to be aware as you're reaching backwards that A, the leg is straight, but also there's not too much forward body movement just yet. As you swing the back leg forward next, you're going to open the top elbow to the ceiling, and then when it swings back, it almost feels like you roll the side of the abdomen onto the ball to face downwards. So you're swinging forwards and opening upwards, breathing out and swinging downwards. Rotate back. Two more. And then resting down. We're going to bring ourselves over to the other side and do the same thing. So this ball, along with my side body shape, can get to around the waist. You're on the forearm. You've got straight legs, so your legs are straight down the center of the mat for this one. Hand is either going to be behind your head or on the forehead, depending on how this shoulder is. This side of the neck as well. So listen in. Feet move away, top leg lifts. Initially, you're swinging forwards and you're swinging backwards. Just getting accustomed to this idea of the ball lifts me, yet it makes it a little bit more challenging stability-wise, especially if it's really wedged in there. And then you're going to use it to enable you, particularly to roll downwards. As the leg swings forward, you're going to open the elbow and head to the ceiling. And breathe in. And as the leg goes backwards, you're rotating downwards to the floor. This will be your last one. You can rest there and relax back down again. The ball can come away. We're going to look at moving into 100 now with some internal and external rotation of the arms. So bring yourself back down onto your back. Find your organization with your toes apart and your heels into line. Just notice how you're organised there. Well, when you're ready, take a breath out and float your first leg to the ceiling. And breathe in, and as you exhale, you take the second leg up to join. Knees and feet are heading together. You can certainly feel the insides of your legs touching, and your arms are going to lift to the ceiling with your palms turning in to face each other. As you breathe out here, we're going to come into your shoulder drop sequence. So fingers reach to ceiling, backs of shoulders move away from the floor. Do you sense the lower back ribs pushing down into your mat? As you're curling forwards, you're rotating your arm bones inwards. And then as you inhale and unravel, you're going to rotate the arm bones back outwards so your palms are facing in towards each other. Breath out, shoulder blades move away, back ribs push back, upper arm bones rotate inwards. And as you inhale, you'll unravel and you'll bring the palms to face towards each other. Breath out, shoulders, back ribs. When you're up here, you could inhale and straighten the legs. You could exhale and bring the knees back into their bent position. And then you could inhale to lay yourself back down again. Breath out to curl up. Inhaling to reach the legs long and away. Exhale to bend and draw in. And then inhale to lay yourself back down again. 2 more. Upper arm bones. Moving outwards, away from each other. Last one. And resting down there. Feet could come separately down onto the floor. You are going to bring yourself up to sit. So you could also draw them into your chest and take yourself into a roll up to come up, or you can just roll yourself onto your side and do the same. We're going to look at spine stretch here. So coming onto your book or your blocks, taking yourself into a long sit and just noticing how that feels. You're looking for the spine to feel somewhat comfortable, to be extended with the long legs. It can be a little bit of work. So do you need to lift the pelvis even higher? That could be somewhere where you go even stool height. Arms are going to start out in front of you, and your knees could be soft. As you breathe out, lower the gaze. The back ribs are heading backwards, the fingertips are reaching forwards, but it's as if the waist is being drawn backwards. And breathe in when you're ready to, and bring yourself all the way up to sit tall and go again. Breath out. The side body is looking to be long. You could think arm arcs wide through the armpits as you're bringing yourself forward there to sit tall. Notice your sit bones. You're pouring your spine out of the pelvis. Notice if there's any bias. Are you on one sit bone more than the other? 2 sides of the body long, right foot to right hand, left foot to left hand. We're going to look at leg pull from here. I would suggest you came off your block, even though your legs are going to start out stretched in front of you. I'm going to take a full arm circle to get into this. You don't have to do that. Your arms could just be positioned behind you. So if you circle the arms up and open, fingers are going to point forwards. You can probably see from the screen that requires quite a lot of bending through the wrists, and it might be that for you, you prefer fingers pointing outwards or even fingers pointing backwards. Your hands are wider than your hips. And after the first one, you might choose just to play around with your position, what suits you in terms of where you've placed the hands. Your legs are straight. You're going to rock on the back of the heel bones. Send the soles of the feet down to the floor and bring yourself up. You're open through the front of the hips. You could think bridging there. Lower yourself back down again. Down to come up. Hands and the heels. And then sitting yourself back down again. Couple more. Reaching the soles of the feet forwards and away just gives you a little bit more to play with. The gaze is forward still. It might have lifted slightly, but just be aware of throwing the head back. And then lowering down from that last one. You're bringing yourself onto your front from here. And we're going to look at dart. You could use the ball in the center of the chest. If you need to then pile the head up, so you've got a little bit more space, then you could. Otherwise, the arms are going to come beside you on the mat. Allow the head to relax so that the shoulders do round initially and walk your legs away from the pelvis. You're doing your best to feel like you're in the center of the ball, even though I know this is going to be moving side to side a little for you. If you send your lowest point of contact down and into the ball and allow what lives above that to start to lift, you're then going to widen through the chest and turn the palms to face in towards you or all the way round to face down towards the floor before you relax and bring yourself all the way back down again. So you're rounded, know that. If you push down at your lowest point of contact into the ball, the crown reaches, there's a sliding apart and a spread of the chest. Palms could either finish facing in, you've externally rotated, or could they keep coming even more and then relax yourself back down again. Inhale. Lowest point of contact. And when you're up here next, take a breath out. Keep reaching long. And as you breathe out next, you'll lower yourself back down again. So just delaying the return. Inhale. And exhale to bring you all the way back down again. Push yourself up into a child's pose from here. Something that brings you back to being flexed, to being rounded. And that's from head to tail. When you're ready to, you're gonna slowly unravel. Bring yourself to vertical, just to get your orientation. And then you're going to bring yourself up to stand. Bring the ball with you. It's going to go between the legs as you come up to stand at the front end of your mat. So you've got all your mat free out in front of you. I'm going to try between the knees, but again, depends how inflated the ball is. You are in a narrow parallel with your feet here, and arms can just be relaxed beside you. Take a breath in. As you breathe out and you soften, you've got that sighing of the upper body, as you did when you were bridging. Front ribs are rolling in, back ribs are spreading back. Walk yourself out into a plank position. And then send your heels backwards and downwards as you head back. The weight will still be on the balls of the feet. And just relax through the upper body. And then when you're ready to, unraveling to bring you all the way back up again. Breathing out to soften. Front ribs are turning in. You're diving up and over. And the weight will head more towards the balls of the feet. And there we are. Well done. Take care.